The Sinister White Hat Man, a spine-chilling tale of haunted secrets and unexplained terror. The night air thickened, heavy with dread, as Sarah stepped out of the hospital. The shivering shadows of Oak Hollow whispered like secrets she couldn't quite grasp. The trees stood as silent sentinels, their branches clawing at the dark sky. Each soft whisper felt like the town's heartbeat, pulsing an ominous warning. As she turned onto Maple Street, the streetlights flickered, struggling against the encroaching darkness, a darkness that was more than just the absence of light. It was an unease that settled over the neighborhood like a creeping fog. Her feet dragged from exhaustion, sleepless nights spent tending to the sick and weary. Yet, when she spotted the local playground looming ahead, her instincts prickled. The swings creaked eerily, moving in unnatural rhythm. There, at the edge of those shadows, stood the White Hat Man, a figure warped in darkness, his wide-brimmed hat casting an unsettling shadow over his face. A chilling shiver shot down her spine. Surely, he was just a quirky local, a harmless oddity. But an instinct deep within, one too often dulled by fatigue, screamed at her to stay away. Weeks passed, each night he was there, looming at the playground, watching. The laughter of her children became a bitter-sweet melody, echoing in the air as the townsfolk exchanged wary glances and hushed words. Conversations at the bus stop felt heavy with suspicion. Eyes seemed to track her movements, dark gazes that sent chills racing up her arms. Sarah tried to push the paranoia aside, but every glance at the White Hat Man sharpened her fears. Then came the news. Tommy's best friend, Sammy, was missing. Just like that, the world tilted beneath her feet. Her heart raced, panic gnawing at her gut. She recalled the playful hugs the boys shared, laughter ringing through the yard, a haunting reminder that innocence now teetered on the edge of chaos. Whispers grew louder. Rumors filled the air as dread draped heavily over the homes of Oak Hollow. Each neighbor darting looks of concern, each conversation dripping with tension. The authorities waved her off. Just an overworked mother, the officer said, a dismissive shrug followed by a "we'll keep our eyes open." But her eyes saw what theirs did not. The gloved hands that once held playground swings, now clutched shadows and secrets. With every step, she felt eyes watching, lurking in corners, breeding a sense of impending doom. Digging into old town lore, Sarah unearthed stories of missing children, lost souls woven through the fabric of her sleepy community. As she pieced the narrative together, dread twisted her insides, knotting into a tight ball of fear. The chilling connection to the White Hat Man, a twisted legacy kept alive by fear, loomed larger and darker in her mind, and so, one evening, with panic clawing at her throat, she confronted him, the White Hat Man. He stood across the deserted playground, framed in darkness, a guardian cloaked in a predatory presence. Yet, as she stepped forward, a sickening realization hit her hard: the friendly face of Oak Hollow held more terror than she could bear. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The sound of rustling leaves ignited a fire of urgency. Sarah's heart thundered as she gripped her phone tight, fingers trembling as she typed a frantic message to her mother, her last lifeline. But the screen flickered ominously. Laughter, soft and sinister, echoed hauntingly from the shadows, morphing into something that chilled her to her core. She met the White Hat Man's gaze, her breath hitching, as the promise of safety slipped away. Was anyone even there to answer her plea? The laughter faded, leaving an eerie silence that wrapped around Sarah like a suffocating blanket. Her heart raced, each beat a reminder of the danger lurking so close. She took a breath, but it caught in her throat. The White Hat Man, still standing there, his form more ominous in the dim light, seemed to absorb the very essence of fear. "Who are you?" Sarah shouted, her voice trembling. She hated how small it sounded against the expanse of the playground, against the towering shadows. But she needed answers desperately. the figure shifted slightly, the brim of his hat casting a darker shadow over his obscured face. For a moment, she thought he might respond, might peel back the layers of the unspeakable dread entwined around him. Instead, he simply tilted his head. She couldn't tell if he was amused or intrigued. "Leave," a quiet voice hissed from behind her, barely more than a whisper. Sarah spun around, her anxiety doubling as she scanned the empty playground. No one was there. Just cold metal and rusting chains. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, turning back to face him. It felt like a futile defense against the ongoing nightmare surrounding her, but every syllable was soaked with defiance. His lips barely moved, as if speaking was a wasted effort. But the stillness broke with the faintest sound, a child's giggle, coming from somewhere behind her, a laugh too innocent for such a haunted place. Sarah spun again, searching each shadow with wild desperation. Nothing. Just the creeping clutch of shadows all around. Suddenly, a force pulled at her heart, a dreadful wave washing over her as she remembered Sammy. Was he caught in this web too? Was this twisted figure tied to his absence? Panic surged as her hands shook around her phone, ready to call out for help. But what help? The authorities had dismissed her, deemed her worries as mere exhaustion. The weight of their disbelief only compounded her sense of isolation. "He's not the only one," the White Hat Man finally rasped, each syllable imbued with ice. The sound slithered into her ears, coiling around her mind like a snake ready to strike. "So many have danced in the playground. Can't you hear the music?" "Music? What are you talking about?" Each word slipped off her tongue like molasses, her mind racing to comprehend whatever twisted plane he operated on. And then the reality stuck harder than the fear: he was toying with her. This was not a game where she could win. A heavy dread overshadowed her and soaked right into her bones. "Find out the truth," he urged, his voice almost coaxing now, taunting. "This town holds more secrets than you know. And the more you dig, the more you'll find." Sarah's gaze darted back to the swings, restless in the dark but no children playing, her breath hitching. Another giggle echoed eerily across the distance. Faces she barely recognized flickered in her memory, photos she had seen before tucked into old scrapbooks at the town hall, children lost in the web of Oak Hollow's past. Something was very wrong here. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet felt like concrete. The truth lay buried somewhere underneath the layers of fear and shadows, and maybe, just maybe, she was the only one left who could unearth it. Suddenly, he stepped forward, and the distance between them narrowed. She felt an icy grip around her throat, not his hand but the panic wrapping around her mind. "What will you sacrifice to save them?" His words echoed, dark and foreboding, bearing with them an unholy promise. And then, he vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the chilling laugh of children and the suffocating weight of unanswered questions and fears. Sarah's heart raced as the laughter multiplied, echoing through the trees, a haunting symphony filled with anguish. She was on the brink of a precipice that threatened to push her into a depth she couldn't fathom. In that moment, clarity struck. She needed to act, but where to begin? Darkness clung to every corner of Oak Hollow. As she turned to leave the playground, chest tight with dread, she caught a glimpse of white fabric, a small scrap tugging at the bushes, like a ghost trying to escape the town's horrors. What secrets lurked there? What was it trying to show her? Moving closer, she could feel the pulse of the forest quickening, shadows swirling, the air thickening once more with silent laughter. Tomorrow would be another day of digging, probing deeper into the secrets wrapped tight around Oak Hollow, but tonight, she had to uncover what the shadows were hiding. Would she find more than just the past, or would the darkness consume her first? The moon hung high in the sky, casting a ghostly light over Oak Hollow. Shadows danced in the trees like restless spirits. The playground stood silent, a graveyard of memories where laughter once thrived. Sarah's heart raced, the echo of the White Hat Man's words still reverberating in her ears. She had to find out what was hidden in the darkness. Taking a deep breath, she stepped towards the scrap of white fabric. It fluttered softly, teasing her with its secrets. As she knelt down, the moonlight illuminated what looked like a child's shirt, aged and stained. Her stomach churned with the weight of unease. This shirt could belong to any of the missing children, the ones the town had long forgotten. Her thoughts raced. Was Sammy one of them? Had he worn something like this? Panic clawed at her throat as she held the shirt tightly. In the stillness, every rustle of leaves, every distant creak of metal felt like the whisper of those lost kids, their voices begging her to remember, to act. A sudden chill swept through the air. It was a presence, an unmistakable feeling that she wasn't alone. The laughter, once just a phantom memory, returned. This time it was louder, more sinister, echoing from the trees. Sarah. The breeze seemed to murmur. She wanted to shout back, to demand the shadows reveal their secrets, but her voice was caught in her chest, muffled by dread. The familiar feeling of being watched prickled at her skin. She turned slowly, expecting to see the familiar form of the White Hat Man lurking in the shadows. But the night remained still, unnaturally so. A deep sense of foreboding settled in as she realized this silence was worse than the laughter. She raised her phone as a flashlight, scanning the darkness, its weak beam barely cutting through the inky black. The playground, once a place of joy and laughter, now morphed into a prison of shadows. And there, at the edge of the light, a figure stood, a little girl with long hair and tattered clothes, looking away from her. "Help me," the girl whispered, her voice echoing with an otherworldly chill. The words hung heavy in the air, laced with desperation. "Where are you?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper, heart pounding like drums of war. "What do you need?" The girl turned slowly, revealing a face streaked with dirt and tears. In her eyes, a haunting sadness glimmered. "You can't help us." The words were a chilling confession, a curse woven through her breath. "He won't let you." Sarah stepped forward instinctively, but the air grew colder. The girl stepped back, fading like mist in the night. Panic surged, she felt like she was losing a connection she desperately needed. "Wait. Please." But the girl was gone, leaving only the fabric clutched tightly in Sarah's shaking hands. Sudden movement caught her eye, and she turned toward the playground's entrance. Shadows shifted, morphing in ways they shouldn't. The tree branches twisted, phantoms coating the bark, and for a moment, she almost recognized a face of one of the missing children. Her breath hitched. "Dig deeper," echoed the voice of the White Hat Man, a cruel reminder that each child's fate intertwined with her own quest. Sarah's mind raced. What did digging deeper mean? Where could she even start? There had to be records or memories buried in the town's history, something that linked all of this together. But would uncovering the truth cost her more than just digging? As she took a step back, a sudden crash echoed behind her, metal clanging against the ground. She turned, heart pounding, and saw the swings moving on their own, creaking as if propelled by unseen hands. The laughter swelled again, so close now, it enveloped her. Fear turned to resolve. If she had to confront the past to save Sammy and the others, she would dive headfirst into the darkness, but where to begin? As she stumbled backward, the laughter crescendoed harshly. The shadows seemed to close in around her, taunting her just like the girl had. There was no denying it now. The nightmares weren't over. And somewhere in the darkness, the promise of the White Hat Man lingered. What would she sacrifice to uncover the truth? The air thickened with uncertainty. Each heartbeat was a countdown. Would she have the courage to step into the abyss when the time came? Tomorrow's pursuit of the truth loomed, but tonight was just the beginning of terror unwelcomed. The weight of anticipation pressed down on Sarah as she stumbled away from the swings, her flashlight trembling in her grip. The laughter echoed through the air, warping her thoughts, pulling her deeper into the dread of the night. She could feel the eyes of the missing children upon her, their silence shouting a warning. Goosebumps prickled her arms, she needed to move. A chill skittered up her spine as she caught a swift movement in the corner of her eye. Another shadow passed just beyond the playground's edge. Was it the little girl? Or something darker? Panic surged again, carrying with it the unmistakable urge to run. But running meant abandoning the hope of finding Sammy and the truth lying buried here. Sarah turned on her heel, driven by a mix of determination and desperation. "I need to find answers," she shouted into the void, as if conjuring help from the darkness itself. But her voice hung in the cool night, swallowed by the forest. The path before her twisted into a thick mass of shadows. Each step crunched underfoot, the sound drawing unwanted attention. She reached the playground entrance, but the exit felt like an invitation to the unknown world beyond. What horrors lay in the town? Clues? Secrets? She had to know. "Help us!" whispered voices emerged from the trees, wispy and hollow, layering themselves over her thoughts. Guilt punched at her heart. Could she really abandon those trapped souls? As her feet carried her toward the edge of the woodland, the light from her flashlight caught something glinting against the dirt. Stooping down, she revealed a rusty locket, heart-shaped and tarnished. The faintest hint of a name was etched into the surface: Emily. Tears stung her eyes as memories of a faded flyer surfaced in her mind, a picture of a little girl, bright smile and twinkling eyes, grinning next to a swing. Emily, Sarah breathed, clutching the locket like a lifeline. She could almost hear Emily's laughter mingling with the others, vibrant yet sorrowful. Suddenly, the laughter erupted around her, mocking, echoing through the trees, growing closer. Stifling a scream, Sarah scanned the materializing shadows, her flashlight flickering with each jolt of fear that coursed through her. The playground shifted, the air thickened, as if the world itself took a breath to receive her terror, and then, she saw him, the White Hat Man, his shape looming above the swings, his white hat a stark contrast against the dark. He was grinning, that twisted smile cutting through the night's suffocating silence. "Did you come to play?" His voice dripped with malice, echoing around her like a taunting chorus. "You have questions, dear girl. But I offer something better, a game. And the cost, oh, it's high." Sarah felt her stomach drop as an icy dread clutched her heart. What kind of game could he mean? "No!" she shouted, desperate. "I won tea," but he raised a hand, silencing her, the air freezing around her. "You wanted to dig deeper, didn't you?" Shivers raced along her spine. The whispers turned frantic, "Help us. Don't listen to him." With a sudden gust of wind, her flashlight flickered out, plunging her into dark panic. The shadows surged, enveloping her, blotting out everything but the looming figure of the White Hat Man. Trembling, she realized this was no mere game. This was a choice, a cost. What would she be willing to sacrifice? Her past? Her sanity? Or could the price be something even more precious? The darkness breathed around her, thickening, whispering promises and threats. And just as quickly, the laughter broke away, the shadows pulling back slightly as the figure of the White Hat Man lowered his hat. "Choose your path, Sarah," he murmured. "But choose wisely, for you may not return." Heart racing, she could feel the weight of the locket in her pocket pressing against her like a hidden truth. What would be her next move? In the suffocating darkness, one question lingered: was she ready to confront the depths of terror waiting for her in Oak Hollow? The laughter faded, but the chill hung heavy in the air as Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. The weight of the locket dug deep into her pocket, a reminder of the innocence lost in this twisted game. Shadows flickered around her, alive and restless. Fear clawed at her mind, whispering doubts, urging her to consider flight. But disaster healed through truth, or so she hoped. "Take your time," the White Hat Man cooed. His voice slithered through the damp air, dripping with mockery. "You've come this far. But don't keep the shadows waiting." With a flick of his wrist, the darkness around her thickened, the air pulsing, tight like a vice. The urge to escape tugged at her, but another part of her, a darker curiosity, urged her to confront the truth hiding just out of reach. "Emily," she whispered, the name curling around her lips like smoke. It was a reminder, a connection to the little girl who deserved rescuing. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself against the encroaching dread. "What do I have to do?" The White Hat Man extended his arm, revealing a tattered playing card, its edge frayed and worn. A game of choices, my dear. One card holds a secret, the other, a fate much worse than death. He grinned wider, the corners of his lips stretching impossibly. Pick wisely, or you may say hello to the darkness once again. Sarah's eyes flickered between the cards. Fear erupted inside, but something deeper held her there. The first card exuded a dim glow, almost inviting. The second it whispered of nightmares, of the lost children swirling through the shadows, their tiny hands reaching for her. What if I choose wrong? She asked, her voice shaky but loud enough to cut through the suffocating silence. The White Hat Man chuckled, the sound echoing like splintering glass. Ah, dear Sarah, that's part of the fun. There's no winning without a cost. You must decide, do you value your past, or will you step into a haunting truth? A gust swept through the playground, cold and bitter. The laughter returned, blending otherworldly with the cries of forgotten children. It forced its way into her ears, pulsating madness through her veins. Sarah felt torn apart, the decision pulling her in two directions. And in that moment, a flicker of resolve sparked. Emily deserved to be found. Sammy deserved a chance. With trembling fingers, Sarah reached out suddenly, a shrill scream pierced the night, any remaining bravado shattering like glass. The sound pushed her, driven by instinct, away from the cards and straight into the woods. Run! Her mind commanded as her body moved, heart racing. Branches whipped at her face, shadows crouched and lurked among the trees. The laughter shrank behind her, feverish and distant, replaced by pained wails that seemed to curl and weave through the branches. This feeling of being hunted ignited every survival instinct in her. But something was wrong. She was heading deeper into the darkness, not away from it. Trees twisted unnaturally as the woods seemed to morph with each step. The air grew thicker, closing in around her like a noose. Emily! Sammy! The cries echoed in her throat, a mix of hope and despair. Desperation clawed at her throat like a demon. Would she lose them in this maze of shadows? Then, a figure darted across her path, childlike and fleeting, with laughter that cut through the darkness like a knife. It wasn't just any shadow. It was Emily, her face barely illuminated by the moonlight, eyes wide with fear. Help us! The little girl's voice wavered, stretching thin between them. Sarah's heart raced. Could this be real? Could she truly save them? As the White Hat Man's laughter swirled behind her, Sarah realized the truth. She was choosing a path to rescue. She was caught in a terrifying maze of choice and consequence. Would she follow the glowing chance of hope or succumb to the depths of despair where the White Hat Man beckoned? The answer lingered in the air like fog, thickening her resolve as the world spun in shade and chilling laughter. She had to act fast, but which direction would lead her to salvation? The darkness enveloped Sarah, but suddenly Emily's small frame became the beacon she needed. Chasing after the fleeting figure felt impossibly heavy with dread, but the urgency propelled her forward. The child's laughter echoed all around, mocking her while exacerbating her fear. What horrors lay just beyond her reach? Emily, wait! Sarah called, desperation pushing the words from her throat. The laughter faded, leaving an echo of haunting silence that swallowed her voice. Help us! Emily wailed again, then darted between trees, guiding Sarah deeper into the woods, each step fraught with an unsettling tension. The branches clawed at her skin as if the trees themselves sought to snatch her back into the abyss. A chill swept through the air, a presence that chilled her bones, shifting the atmosphere like smoke. Then she slipped, roots tangled around her feet, pulling her down into the earth. Heart racing, she fought against the soil, scrambling to rise. Behind her, the White Hat Man's laughter rang out, a cruel serenade flooding her mind with panic. Where are you, Emily? The words gasped out of her. She clutched at the locket in her pocket, its cold metal grounding her, reminding her of Sammy and the promises she made. She couldn't let the darkness swallow them all. She pushed through the underbrush, tearing branches, feeling the thorns bite into her skin. Ahead, a shape shifted in the shadows. Was it Emily, or merely another trick of the dark? She ran harder, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Emily. She called again, praying for a response. Then, she spotted her standing still, a silhouette brightened by the eerie glow of the moon. But as Sarah drew near, dread curdled in her stomach. Emily's face transformed, twisting with sorrow and fear, her eyes reflecting something far graver than any child's terror. "Sarah, help us." Emily's voice twisted in pitch, becoming warped, as if a sinister echo was calling back from the abyss. The warmth in Sarah's heart turned to ice. "What do you mean? Where's Sammy?" Panic gripped her. Emily's mouth moved, but no sound came. Behind Sarah, the woods shuddered. The menacing laughter returned, weaving a song like twisted reeds in the wind. Don't trust, Emily mouthed, her form flickering like a dying flame, swallowed by shadows slithering around her. "Emily." Sarah dashed forward, but the darkness seized hold of the child, pulling her back with ethereal tendrils. Just then, the ground beneath Sarah trembled. The earth itself seemed alive, crying out in torment. She fell again, the ground sucking at her, dragging her deeper into the dark. "No. You won't take me." Roaring defiantly, she pulled herself free, scrambling onto her feet, desperate to seize what felt like a fleeting lifeline. Ahead, the oppressive shadows thinned momentarily, revealing a narrow path lined with crumbling stones, half buried in grime. Scraps of light flickered, pulsing like heartbeat. Perhaps this was the way to Sammy. With hesitation, Sarah stepped forward, each footfall echoing like a countdown. She turned to glance back, but the shadows consumed her memories of laughter, and the laughter grew louder, sinister whispers clawing at her sanity. What had she let herself in for? The flickering light pulsed, undulating like a heartbeat. Was this a trick? She clenched her fists, heart pounding, stomach twisting with fear. Could a path of hope lead her to the children or straight into darkness? Time slipped through her fingers, and as she took another step, she felt the ground itself shift beneath her. The shadows stirred restlessly, beckoning her beneath their inky veil, and the White Hat Man's laughter danced in the air around her. "Choose wisely, dear Sarah," he taunted. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught her eye. A shape darted between the trees, reeling her back to the struggle at hand. Emily. Sammy. The path split ahead, one side brimming with light, the other draped in malevolence. With hands trembling, Sarah faced the choice. Would she step into the blinding light or into the clutches of the unknown? The answer loomed just beyond her grasp. The heart in Sarah's chest thundered louder than ever. The light flickered, pulsing from the path on her right, a beacon of hope drenched in an ethereal glow. She could almost see memories of laughter, visions of Emily and Sammy, tugging at her heart. Yet, the shadows on her left beckoned her, whispering promises of twisted mysteries that sent ice coursing through her veins. The very air crackled with tension as if the forest held its breath, waiting for her decision. Time stretched impossibly, her mind racing through possibilities. How could she save Emily and Sammy? What awaited her in either direction? Emily. The name slipped from her mouth, a quiet plea that mingled with the rustling leaves. Answered only by silence, she felt despair claw at her throat, then she saw it a flicker in the darkness. A form, indistinct yet unmistakably there, standing just beyond the reach of the wavering light. Sarah squinted, heart racing. It had to be Emily, but the shadow seemed too tall, too twisted in its shape. With one final glance at the ominous darkness and the taunting laughter that echoed through the trees, she made her choice. "I'm coming." She shouted and took off toward the light, her feet barely touched the ground as she sprinted, the weight of dread pushing down on her but the light drawing her in like a moth. Every step felt like stepping on shards of glass, sharp and painful. She could almost hear whispers curling around her, trying to pull her back, a cacophony of voices warning her, haunting her, begging her. As she neared the shining path, the world distorted. The light swirled, brightening and dimming. A translucent mist rose from the ground, throbbing rhythmically as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Sarah gasped, her breath catching in her throat. It had an almost otherworldly beauty, a terrifying invitation wrapped in a lure. Then, she saw her. Emily, hair shining like the moonlight, face pale, watching with wide eyes that seemed to pull Sarah in. But something was terribly wrong. The child's expression twisted, flickering between hope and an unsettling fear. "Sarah, it's a trap!" she cried, her voice echoing painfully against the trees. "Don't!" The warning cut off abruptly as a shadow lunged from behind Emily, a dark blur darting out like a bolt of lightning. Sarah's heart dropped as she stumbled, unable to process the speed of it. The White Hat Man, a figure dressed in tattered white, his wide-brimmed hat shadowing his features, lunged toward Emily. "No!" Sarah screamed, a raw sound that tore from her as she launched forward, desperation fueling her. But the soft glow of the light began to dim, shadows creeping in like fingers tightening around their prey. Emily's fear blossomed into terror, her small hands reaching for Sarah, pleading. "Help us, Sarah!" The ground trembled again, shifting underfoot. But this time it felt different. Dark tendrils snaked up from below, wrapping around Sarah's feet, dragging her down. She screamed, kicking desperately at the roots enslaving her, but it was no use. The more she struggled, the tighter they gripped. "Sarah!" Emily's voice echoed, distant now, the fear in it coloring the air with despair. The White Hat Man stood behind her, laughter rising like a storm. "Did you really think you could save them?" He leaned forward, his eyes glinting with malice. "You've already made your choice." Panic surged through Sarah, breathing quick and shallow. The path of light was gone, devoured by darkness. She felt a weight of cold whispering around her throat, the presence of something ancient and hungry. Bracing herself against the pull of despair, she gritted her teeth. "No. I will save them." She roared defiantly, summoning every ounce of willpower. As the shadows bore down, she felt a sudden rush, the surge of a powerful need to fight for Emily, for Sammy, for her own soul. Just as the darkness swallowed her whole, the remembered laughter rang in her ears, intertwining with her scream. The world faded into nothingness, leaving behind a void so profound that for a moment she forgot who she was, and then a whisper slid through the darkness. "Find me." Was it Emily? Or the White Hat Man? In the depths of that suffocating blackness, dread clawed at the edges of her sanity, and her heart trembled with the knowledge that her nightmare was far from over. But what fate awaited her now as a choice loomed again in the dark? The darkness engulfed Sarah, wrapping around her like a heavy cloak, stifling all sound. Fear bled like ink through her mind. Where had the light gone? The laughter of Emily echoed faintly, morphing into a wail. It twisted in her ears, both familiar and wrong, sending tendrils of ice through her veins. "Emily!" she cried, her voice barely a whisper in the overwhelming void, but the silence only deepened. Panic squeezed her chest tighter. She clawed at the darkness, fingers brushing against something clammy and cold. The sensation cut through the fear, anchoring her to the horrific reality. It pulsed like a heartbeat, rhythmic and ominous. She wasn't alone. "Find me," the whisper returned, lilting and haunting. Was it Emily or perhaps something else darker? A flicker of hope ignited momentarily, but with it came a chilling notion: she could be led astray. She took a shaky breath, steeling herself. No matter the cost, she had to find Emily. Lifting her foot tentatively, she felt the familiar gnaw of cold tendrils retreating slightly, as if gauging her resolve. Giving into instinct, she pushed off and moved forward, each step tentative but more resolute than the last. With each stride, splintered memories surged within her, the laughing faces of her children, vibrant and whole. Images intertwined with flickers of fear: Sammy, his small body so vulnerable. The thought propelled her deeper, drawing her toward whatever dread awaited. To find them, she had to face whatever dwelled in the dark. Suddenly, the whisper morphed into frantic murmurs, voices tangled together, rising and falling like waves crashing against a shore. Sarah, save us! The White Hat Man. Desperation thickened the air. There's no escape. A voice bellowed, bitter and slicing through her. It was the White Hat Man. Only suffering. Your children, they chose me. The shadows thickened again, forming grotesque shapes like monstrous beasts, clamoring for attention. Sarah's heart lurched. No. They never choose you. She shouted defiantly. Then let us test their love. Join me. The shadows swirled, taking form behind her tormented faces, lost souls trapped in eternal yearning. Their mouths moved, but only silent screams escaped. That in a rush, visions crashed over her. Emily's innocent laughter, Sammy's bright smile, now extinguished. The thought twisted in her chest. I will save them. She screamed, spitting the words into the dark. A sudden silence enveloped her. Then, a chuckle broke the stillness, rich and unsettling. Foolish woman. No light can pierce this darkness. You owe them nothing. From the shadows, long fingers stretched towards her, creeping and clawing. Their grip slipped through the crannies of despair, coaxing her to weakness. She fought back, summoning the warmth of love she kept tucked deep within. I choose love. She cried, pushing against the tides of despair. I'll find you, my children. As the shadows hissed and recoiled, the darkness shivered, momentarily splintered. A burst of blinding white light erupted, so brilliant it threatened to engulf her whole. It pulsated, fiercely alive, forcing the shadows to retreat, revealing a narrow path just beyond. But before Sarah could step forward, an unseen force lunged from the darkness, binding her in place with icy fingers, refusing to yield. You cannot escape, the voice snarled. Then came a low, haunting whisper that sent shivers racing down her spine. One last choice, make it wisely. The air felt charged, heavy with a menacing electricity, tightening around her throat. The choice loomed larger as she faced the unseen, heart racing. Could she truly find Emily and Sammy? Could she defy the White Hat Man once and for all? The threat lingered, something sinister waited in the shadows. She felt the tension pull taut, ready to snap, but which path remained? And would love be enough to break the darkness? The whispers beckoned her still. Find me. The urge to uncover the truth shot through her. Would she plunge deeper into the unknown? Would she be bold enough to confront the terrible secrets lying in wait? The icy grip around Sarah's throat tightened, each heartbeat echoing as if her very life was caught in the snare of darkness. One last choice, make it wisely. The voice dripped with malevolence, sharp like glass. It knew her fears, her weaknesses, and it preyed on them. What choice? Panic simmered beneath her skin, and in that moment, she felt utterly lost. The light flickered. Was it a mere illusion? Or was it the last motes of hope trying to hold their ground against the encroaching night? Taking deep, shuddering breaths, she thought of Emily and Sammy. Images of their radiant smiles flooded her mind. In the face of overwhelming dread, those fleeting memories provided a flicker of warmth. I choose love. She howled defiantly, voice echoing into the void, but the shadows writhed angrily around her. Love? Such a fragile thing. The White Hat Man's voice thundered, emerging louder from the suffocating black. Where has it brought you? To a darkened path, a lost mother. Suddenly, the icy hold loosened, as if the force was pulled back momentarily, and Sarah stumbled forward on the revealed path. The prospect of freedom danced just out of reach, yet darkness lashed out like a viper, cracking her resolve, grasping her legs, tugging her back into its cold embrace. She knew she had to run. Desperate to embrace the light, whatever it was, she propelled herself forward, her heart pounding in sync with each trembling step. Her instincts screamed at her to look back, but she choked back the fear. She had to believe she could save Emily and Sammy. Then an unsettling laugh erupted from behind her, deep and twisted, a sound that clawed at her sanity. Run, little sparrow. But where are you going? They are mine. The name sent shivers through her bones. Sparrow. It was a name she had used for her children. There wasn't just entrapment in this darkness, there was mockery woven into its fiber. Suddenly, she felt a pull toward the black, as if the weight of grief itself had come alive. "Mommy! Help!" A voice Emily's fractured the silence like glass shattering. It wove around her, pulling her deeper into despair. "No!" she shrieked, shaking away the visions. "I choose to keep fighting." But as she propelled herself forward, shadows twisted with newfound force, their forms closing in, cold whispers swelling into a cacophony of chaos. "Join us! Join the lost!" Moments bled together, the path before her flickered, a stuttering flicker of light and dark. In the tumult, she felt hands lightly graze her shoulders, spectral, cold, yet familiar. The laughter wrapped around her, now ghostly cries, warping into screams of terror. "Where are you?" she choked out, desperation slashing her words. "I'm here." Emily's voice rang, an echo of pure heartbreak. "Mommy, it's dark, and cold. I'm afraid." But with each saved breath came another wail, louder than before. It pierced through her heart, tangling further into the terror pressing against her. The dark seemed to pulsate, hot and alive. "You must choose. Love or despair. Allow your children to join the rest or take your share of darkness." Her mind grappled with the profound weight of the choice hanging like a pendulum over her. The very air seemed to hum with unholy glee. Tighter it wrapped around her chest, squeezing her hope like a vice. "Choose now." The shadows screamed, voices building to a deafening roar. In those chaotic whispers, Sarah resolved herself. A thought glimmered through the storm, a revelation that maybe it was more than just light or dark. Maybe, just maybe, there was a third choice. Without knowing how, she became aware of the pull toward that advancing light again. If she wove her love through this darkness, perhaps it would light the way. But was she strong enough? Just then, tendrils of shadow slithered around her, threatening to drown out her flickering resolve. Her breath quickened, fear and determination igniting within her. Could she truly carve her own path? Or would the White Hat Man snatch away her final glimmer of hope? The shadows coiled tighter, whispering her name, pulling her down further, deeper. Sarah had to decide. A flash of light grew brighter before her eyes, offering salvation. But what would be the cost? What truth awaited her on the other side? With an eruption like thunder, the shadows writhed violently, their grip tightening on Sarah. Every lurch forward only drew her deeper into the unseen, a nightmare that threatened to drown her in despair. "Mommy!" Emily's voice pierced through once more, a haunting echo that reverberated within the tunnel of darkness. The sound twisted around her heart, intensifying the urgency to fight back. "Stay with me. I'm coming!" Sarah shouted, her voice raw with determination. She could feel the warmth of love surging through her, a fire against the chill that creeped closer. Fear had tried to snatch her heart away, but she wouldn't allow it. She pressed forward, her feet pounding against the ground as if racing against time and fate. Without thinking, she sought the light again. The glimmers pulsed, beckoning her through the thick veil of shadow. And then the air shifted. There it was, the warmth of hope contrasting against the cold despair. The flicker grew more brilliant, illuminating the path ahead. Shadows trembled in agony as she moved through the darkness, pushing herself to the brink. Emily. Sammy. The names fell from her lips like a prayer, each utterance igniting a spark within the engulfing void. "I choose love. I choose hope." The shadows shrieked, recoiling violently, definitively pushed back by her conviction. The very air crackled like a live wire, energy swirling around her in chaotic formation, waves dissipating as Sarah surged forward. Then she heard it, an ethereal chorus of familiar childlike giggles, vibrant and warm, each laugh a thread binding her to the light. She reached towards it, her heart soaring even as trepidation clawed at her resolve. This light felt right, a shield against the darkness, the embodiment of everything she fought for. "Find me," a whisper slipped through once more, full of tremors and fear, yet tinged with hope. The world around her slowed, colors swirling as she neared the illuminance. In those ethereal flickers, she saw flashes of familiar faces, her children, glowing with light that pierced even the thickest shadows. Would this be the moment she saved them? Could she reach them before the darkness pulled her back for good? But just then, the White Hat Man's voice emerged, sharper than a shattered mirror. "No one escapes me, Sarah. They belong here, with me. Their light will burn out, just like yours. I want to let you take them." She roared back, squared her shoulders, and pushed forward with everything she had. The weight of the shadows loomed threateningly, the pressure mounting like a storm around her. Just inches from the light, she caught a glimpse of Emily's eyes so wide, so pleading. "Mommy!" Emily cried, her hands reaching out. Tears streamed down her little face, a reflection of hope and fear intertwined. "I'm here." Sarah screamed, the words raw and desperate, yet tinged with an unyielding spirit. The very essence of her being surged toward that flickering light, each heartbeat in sync with her fierce determination that in that defining moment, something inside Sarah clicked with clarity. This was no longer about escaping or choosing darkness over light. It was about love overpowering fear. She could find the truth, not by breaking through the veil, but by unearthing it, gently, through connection and courage. She hurled herself into the light, energy erupting like a star. A brilliance engulfed her, radiating warmth that melted away the shadows. She felt it a connection. She was not alone. The laughter grew louder, children's laughter resonating harmoniously as warmth enveloped her, guiding her through a corridor made of dreams. Suddenly, she stumbled into clarity, the darkness fading yet screaming in refusal. "No!" echoed the curses of the White Hat Man, fading into the recesses of her mind. Before her stood Emily and Sammy, free from the grips of the shadows, illuminated and whole. Relief surged through Sarah, washing over her like a balm to her aching heart. The light pulsed around them, creating a cocoon of safety. "Mommy! You came for us." Emily's face lit up with joy. "I'll always come for you," she whispered, wrapping them both in her arms. Their warmth filled the cavern of despair, blossoming into love that dispelled the darkness entirely. The oppressive weight lifted, shadows disintegrating into the ether, forever severed by the power of unity. Sarah felt lightness, a freedom she hadn't known in what felt like eons. The echoes of childhood laughter faded into a soft symphony, the promise of healing over injury renewed, and as they stood there, bathed in the light that survived the darkest of nights, Sarah knew they had won. She had fought for love, family, and truth, and now, they were free to embrace a future untethered from fear. "Now, we can go home," she said, jubilantly gripping each of their hands. They turned to walk away from the remnants of the dark, eyes fixed firmly on the horizon of a brighter tomorrow. As the path of truth unfolded ahead, revealing the light of a new day, Sarah breathed in deeply, knowing the shadows would never reclaim her again, and with that, they stepped into the warmth of the dawn that awaited beyond the horizon, a new chapter of life beginning once more. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories unfolding from the depths of your imagination. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and make sure it knows you're a true fan. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. I want to hear everything you think. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and embrace the darkness turn to light.